Tonight on As the World Turns. No, I'm sorry. It's Star Trek Discovery. It just felt like a soap opera. There's a surprise at every turn. A couple of surprising returning faces. And a baby! Star Trek Discovery starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the Star Trek Discovery After Show. Point of Light, or as we're calling it, Blinded by the Light.
Perfect timing.
Almost. It was this close. I'm Christian Bladt, joined as every week by Flobo Boyce.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? We're back in space.
In space. Frank Moran is on assignment, so he'll have to give us a full report when he and the away team beam back aboard.
That's crazy spore driving him out, right?
Yeah, exactly. We don't even know where he is. There's a lot of ground to cover, but if you're in the live chat, give us your thoughts on the episode, questions, comments, all of that. Definitely welcome. Let's kind of dive right into the episode. Deals a lot with continuing the Spock storyline that, well, look, we've seen the commercials. We know ultimately we're going to see him at some point this season. So we know that they're building to it.
Right.
You know? It just, you never know. I did have a split second in this episode when when Sarek's ship shows up and Burnham sees somebody, beaming aboard. I was like, is it Spock already? I didn't think we were going to get him. No, it's just Mom. It's Amanda. Yeah. Did you think there was a chance we were going to get Spock there? Or is it just me? Am I the sucker?
In that moment, you had the jaw drop. I was ready for that. I was thinking, great, I'm glad they didn't waste the time and stretch it out. But no, we got
they wasted time and stretched it out. Absolutely.
So it was kind of a swerve on that level. Like, I really thought that it could have been a chance to really circumvent a lot of those tropes, and they decided to go right into it.
Yeah, no. It's a lot of like, but Spock, where's Spock? We get some interesting information that it gives us a lot of, well, let's put it this way. So Amanda visits the Starbase 5 loony bin, as we're inclined to call it, and she steals Spock's file, and she's like, Burnham, I need you to open it. And interestingly enough, she takes it to Captain Pike. Captain Pike says, I can't open this. And I was surprised in that moment because those are two by-the-book moves by people that don't seem to do everything by the book, either Burnham or Pike. So I was just like, they're not going to open his file just because they're not supposed to. I don't know. Did you think that was a little too buttoned down for them to, give Amanda a hard time? And it's like, I mean, especially for Burnham, because it's like it's her mom, it's the woman who raised her.
Sure. I really feel like the writers are trying to balance Pike of being that guy who's a little laid back and willing to break the rules, but they have to put up this straw man of, I'm aware of the rules. And that, to me, was a perfect moment for that, and said, look, I can't do that. And, here's our arbitrary reasons as why not. And then the boxing match happens. Now, I thought it was kind of quick, but I'm kind of glad it got to it because it really opened up a whole new chapter in the Where Spock timeline or narrative.
Yeah, no, and I think that we do get the Christopher Pike that we've gotten to know this season, the very James Kirk style captain who's, he's like, let me go talk to my buddy over there at the Starbase. Oh, okay, so he's full of it and he's not telling me the truth.
All right, I know he's cool? Yeah, he's always leaning forward, always leaning to the side.
That's what the cool people do.
Yeah, for sure.
We always lean like this. But he's just like, well, you really backed me into a corner. I'm going to have to break protocol and open this file. But one of the things that he says is that Spock committed murder. And Amanda can't believe that. Burnham doesn't want to believe it. And Pike doesn't want to believe it either. But it's a kind of a surprising allegation because it's not what we're expecting. And, we don't see any of this. We're being told everything.
Right.
Right. So what I would say in modern day parlance is we might be being fed some fake news about Spock here
Oh yeah, for sure.
by Starfleet.
I'm sure there's a justified reason for that because I'm all for the gritty reboot, but that'd be kind of weird if you're like, I kill people now. That's what it is. The thing about that is, I think you touched upon it. It's that we're being told all of this, and I think I would love to. I was kind of hoping for a flashback or a flash forward or a reenactment or something.
Yeah, like Amanda on the space station.
Even a hand drawing would have been nice.
There's an artist rendering of me stealing it.
Right. It was kind of like we were kind of spoon fed. That was kind of supporting.
Yeah, I think it's we get some this is obviously not the main focus of the episode, even though it is called Point of Light, and there is a talk about the 7 signals. There's the talk about the Red Angel, and Spock started seeing it as a boy. Burnham saw it too. It's we get a little increment in that story, but they advance some of it, but we don't really see anything new. So
Sure.
I think that's what we're gonna have to keep an eye on.
But the thing I realized that was positive is that we have another wrinkle in the relationship between Michael and Mom, I guess.
Yeah.
Amanda. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, as we saw. Having Amanda leave, having thought less of a bit of Michael and having to deal with that. So that was kind of interesting to see that dynamic change a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting, and there's some great character work in terms of Amanda talking about how because Spock was raised not being allowed to embrace his emotions of his human half, that she had to keep her emotions bottled up. But then she shared all of her emotions with Burnham. And when we've seen the flashbacks of young Burnham and young Spock, he just seems to, hate all the attention that Burnham gets. And it's like, well, yeah, because you gave her your love and him, you were like, well, we need to be logical about this, Spock. So I think when we do actually get to see Spock, and we know he's coming, I think it's going to be great. I don't know. How excited is everybody for Spock to show up? How many more episodes do you want? Are you willing to wait 2, 3, 4 more episodes? Or do you hope we get it sooner? Let us know in the chat, and I'll take a look and share your thoughts in a little bit. Just a continuation of what we had last week. We also have Agent Tilly's imaginary friend, not Agent Tilly, but Cadet Tilly's imaginary friend, whose name is May. And she's way more annoying this week, right, Flobo?
Yeah, she's totally in your face.
Yeah.
It looked like this person or projection at the point had a plan, and it was Tilly's idea to go in this plan, this certain line, and we saw it break down. And then we realized it wasn't just in her head, or was it?
Yeah, it was this. So we do find out, and we talked about it last week, the single spore that landed on her. And then when they removed it, you're like, whoa, that single spore was a monster spore.
Yeah, it was pretty gross looking.
Yeah.
Hard to see what the plan was on May's end, but I'm glad that end of the story was not concluded there. But I thought
Yeah,
it was
we saw that this next week we're gonna see more of that.
Yeah,
so.
stay tuned for Clean that week.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that they're adding more of a conflict with that training program. It felt like it could have been as easy as just a couple push-ups and you're in. But now we're seeing her deal with her other rank and file and her keeping her position on that in the whole program.
Yeah, and then single in like basically the space of 1 minute, possibly derailing her entire involvement in that program, because she starts talking to people that aren't there, and it makes it look like she tells Captain Pike to shut up. And I like what Burnham says is like, well, he's got a pretty good sense of humor, and I think he likes you.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought it was an interesting explanation, one that was put forth on this show last week, but I thought that it was sort of an interesting little wrinkle, not even a wrinkle, just this little touch that to May, for lack of better idea what to call the spore, was that Stamets was the captain. Like, where's he? Because as far as the spores are concerned, yeah, he's the one that flies the ship, I mean, he's the one that can make it move with the spores. So getting that perspective of May, the spore, I think that
May the spore.
I
love it.
May the spore be with you. That's the wrong universe, but I feel like I pushed myself into saying that when I apologize already. I don't know. So, how do you feel about the way that Cadet Tilly, handled all of this?
Yeah, so it seemed very interesting last week because it looked like, or it was being implied that it was just a friend and having this like memory come back to haunt her. And that scene with her and Michael figuring out that it couldn't be a memory, it could have been a vision, it could have been hers, it had to be a third agent. I thought it was pretty interesting. I was like, I wonder what this could be. Finding out it was a spore was kind of anticlimactic. It was kind of quick, but I'm glad that was the case because now, with it being extracted and being contained for now, they can see how that can be helping with their other missions also.
Yeah, and I think I do like the bond that we have between Tilly and Michael, that they are actually really close, and that she does share with her, that's, you want to talk about things that could have gone on for multiple episodes. The imaginary person that you keep talking to that no one else can see, they could have really milked that for weeks on end. I mean, anytime you've seen that in shows and movies where there's someone that's not there, but they can see them. Right. So I was glad that she's like, well, you know what, Burnham's like my best friend in the whole universe. So let me tell Burnham about it.
Right.
But,
let me solve your problem.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of glad to get an explanation of that reasonably quickly, and I don't need to see May again. She's incredibly annoying.
She'll be back. Don't worry. I feel like she has to be back, right?
She has to be back.
Yeah, I feel like the personality came first. I feel like that fungus is now associated with May, even if it's just a voiceover of this blob talking.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So also in this episode, it was weird because it was almost like the second half of this episode was very Klingon heavy. I mean, we see them throughout, but then they really stick with the Klingons for a while, and it starts off, and I hadn't really thought about the fact that we would see Ash Tyler again this season at all. But I agree with Michael that I think the beard works for him. Yeah. But Flobo, your thoughts on basically this existence that Tyler's trying to really force himself there. He's, he was Vok. He is still the other Klingons refer to him as basically the plaything of Chancellor L'Rell. Talk about how complicated all of that must be for him to deal with.
Sure. To be fair, his story in my mind was completed. I really had thought that we weren't going to go back.
I didn't think we were going to see him again.
And it was kind of surprising. And I want to say I'm glad cautiously. At first I was like, we're going back here, but hearing about his conflict now of being a part of the helping out Starfleet, but then he is a guy, but he does have the consciousness of this people that don't accept him in a world that he's rejected on both sides. In a lot of ways, he's a character that he's a thankless role. Like, he's kind of just pulled in so many different directions, and he's asked of so much on so many different sides. I kind of feel for him. And to be considered a plaything or to be considered excluded from a group, that's enough to drive someone crazy. And the fact he's sticking with the mission just a lot about his character, that he's trying to atone on some level, but to which master we don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think that actor does a great job. I do like the character. I did like the character. It seemed a little bit of a convoluted thing that they did last season, but at the same time, I did find it to be a very interesting surprise and some of the twists and turns. So I think it's interesting that he's back, but like you, I did not expect to see him again. I really thought that's like, okay, well, we've told that story, which just tells me they must really like him. They're just like, let's get him back on the show. So there's a lot of moving pieces in there, and that's kind of what I was alluding to in the beginning. The soap opera nature of this episode is really the Klingon story.
For sure.
I'm in charge. Yeah, but you brought that thing here, and I bet he's telling you to. How to be chancellor, and all your decisions are based on what he tells you to do. And I think that you had an interesting reaction to which, because if people don't know, Flobo, talk a little bit about how this show is really your first foray into Star Trek.
Sure. So I discussed a little bit about this last week. Growing up, there was already so many different series of Star Trek lore. I felt I had missed that bus. Like, I felt like, well, that's going to be something I'm just not going to be into. Fast forward to took a trip to Europe last November. The show Discovery streams on Netflix as part of your normal subscription. Fell in love with it, and I binged it in a day and a half, and I've become a huge fan ever since. Now, with that said, this show was my first experience with Klingons, so seeing them with hair was weird for me, but it turns out it's the opposite, right?
Right, exactly. So if Frank had been here, he would definitely agree, but for the rest of us, we thought it was so weird that they didn't have hair, and that's basically fan service. It's kind of a throwaway line that Burnham says to Tyler. He's like, yeah, here the Klingons are growing their hair back because the war's over, and that's the only reason they were bald, not because we designed something that people didn't like and we're changing it now.
The opposite of the playoff beard.
Not it. Yeah, right. Exactly. The playoff beard. Yeah, playoffs are over. Let's let it grow back. Yeah. Right. So I thought it was kind of an interesting, that's kind of a side thing to do with the Klingons here. But I did think it was interesting that they took the time to actually explain it. You know, it's more for people like me, and then for you, you're like, this is so weird that they have the hair. Come on,
they're in space. What? Who has barbers and hops in space? I just.
But so I don't know what did you find to be the most surprising of the twists and turns? I'll admit that I was a little surprised that there was a baby.
Right.
I felt like it was a very, to basically say this again, it was a very soap opera thing that like, dun, 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 a baby.
Right.
But,
you know what? The tragic thing about this, all this could have been fine, but it happened on such a short timeline. I mean, in one episode, we realize the Klingon story still exists. We have the fact that Ash is in between, or Agent Tyler's in between these two worlds, that he's not trusted, and then they're trying to keep the old political guard in place, and then there's a baby, and then this baby was premature, gestated ex utero, and it was like, this is a lot of information that could have been earned on a longer scale, but it was kind of...
It's like, and then you turn the page. And I've never seen the baby because I think it's a vulnerability.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but it's my baby too. All right, so we're going to go get the baby. What? The baby's gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. And yeah, it's almost like in a serialized show. It's like, should you have spread this out over like 5 weeks?
Right, yeah.
But well, they had to get it all in at once. And, you got the uncle. And you have the guy's name. So it's the father of a character
Coleshaw?
from last season, Coleshaw, who's and the character from last season, Cole, who was the one with the face paint. It's the same actor, but he's playing his father now.
Oh, okay.
So, and I guess it's the beauty of when you're Klingon. It's just like, so this is an older Klingon, but it's the same actor. It doesn't matter.
Do you think the reason for this episode was to help set up the District 31?
Section 31.
Sorry.
Yeah. No,
District
that's all
31.
Right. Hey, it's...
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's. I think that they really wanted to introduce that, and this was a setting that made sense, and I think that all of this Klingon intrigue, it's very consistent with what we had in season 1, with how L'Rell was basically isolated, and the state of the Empire throughout season 1. So I think that it's just more as the Klingon turns, as it were. So I thought that I don't know. I found it exhausting, I guess is what I'm really trying to say.
Right.
I think it was to service the introduction of Section 31, but. Again, with the twists and turns and the big surprises, in that moment when they're basically when Coleslaw
in space.
I'm sure that's racist against Klingons in some way that I called him coleslaw. But in any case, that he's getting L'Rell to basically step down, and he's planning on, he's like, well, now I'm going to have to kill this guy. And then out of nowhere comes this mystery figure who is shooting, who shoots everybody and then puts coleslaw in a little bubble, because that's what you do with coleslaw. You save it.
Right.
And did you have a hunch as to who was behind that mask? 'Cause
Not a clue.
I didn't.
I did not.
I knew that we were going to see Michelle Yeoh. I knew we were going to see Philippa Georgiou again, or the Emperor. I knew we were going to see her this season.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any thought in that moment when some mystery figure shows up. I'm like, well, I know who it is.
Well, I thought it was Burnham, like bringing the cavalry, but I was like, wait, she wouldn't have a gun. What is going on?
Yeah.
And then the black robe, of course. And seeing Philippa Georgiou was definitely a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you think. If you were surprised, if it was a pleasant surprise, because I was just like, oh, cool, she's in already, you know, because I thought maybe we would get her later in the season too.
Really liked her performance this time. I really thought it was pretty on point, and I knew exactly what she's about, and she hates kids, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. It's like, kids. Yeah, I had to pay people to take care of mine. Yuck. You know. I have 2 kids, so and I love them. But you know, if I could pay people to take care of them, I would get more sleep. But anyway, but I thought it was cool to see her, because I just from season 1, I just love the fact that they had this way to bring her back, because, you know, I mean, obviously she dies so early in the series in episode 2. Right. So I think it's cool that she's working for Section 31, and I feel like we'll get to see a lot more of that. And I think it really sets, you know, this episode really set up a lot of what we're going to see.
Yeah.
So
and Ash being recruited, quote unquote.
Yeah, right. I know,
Hard
because
sell.
Yeah, gonna have to work on the cell. So Beta Artemis in the chat points out that he or she was not surprised, because it was in the trailers that I guess it was Emperor Georgiou. I saw the coming attraction or the commercial last week. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just really dumb and I just didn't pay attention to it.
To be fair, I don't remember it either, but the trailers have been pretty giving out of things going, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. There's shows where they're like, next week, and you see it and you're like, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, basically, you know, good for you, Beta Artemis, and I don't even mean that in a condescending way. Good for you that you were able to process that. Maybe I just watched too much TV over here at AfterBuzz, but okay, it was in the season 2 trailer, but not in the next week trailer. So Beta Artemis is, you know, it's got all the exactly, and good for you, by the way. And shout out to Stress Free K, who's also in the chat. We have a bunch of people in the chat, but they are the most vocal. They're really having quite a conversation, actually. So that's why I'm shouting them both out.
Yeah.
So where do you think we go from here? We'll put a pin in that question, because we have time for Flobo to give each and every one of you this important message.
Before we move on to our next topic, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. For us to continue to grow, we can use your help. So if you're on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe. And if you're on iTunes, please give us a 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, leave us a comment so you too can get involved in the conversation. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much for all of us, and we truly appreciate you supporting us and doing what we love. Don't forget to tell all your friends or enemies, it's cool, and keep enjoying our shows. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So staying with the Klingons, I think, I don't know, a lot of times Klingons come off as very irrational, but you could understand the fact that they have this human Klingon, but, you know, human Klingon hybrid in the way of Ash Tyler, but really it looks human. Sure. You know what I mean? It's not like it's got a mixture of features. It's not like he's a human with like the bumpy forehead. You know, he just looks like a guy. Right. And this is supposed to be the torchbearer, and they're supposed to take that, and they're supposed to be like, oh yeah, we're cool with that. So I think that it makes sense that Tyler contacts Burnham, because that is somebody that he trusts. But what I did like, and this goes back to the soap opera theme running through our show, that, So of all the humans you could have contacted, it was that female Michael Burnham, who I know what you were up to with
You're
her.
so sassy, Christian.
Wow, that's a chancellor. All right, I'm just
That's a chancellor.
you don't speak Klingon as well as I do. I could get the intonation from what you were saying, but I love the fact that they came up with the flimsiest of reasons that they kept speaking English.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait, because this guy that they don't like is human, they're taking the time to speak English. I was like, no, they should always be speaking Klingon.
Right, yeah.
It's just we'll read, we'll be okay.
Yeah, we'll rock with it. We'll assume that's like in movies when like German people speak English with a German accent. It's shorthand. We get it, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so we get it, but it's like I don't know. And then people obviously study the Klingon language, and I guess it's a lot of work. Probably.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it was interesting seeing that scene, quote unquote, with Ash and Burnham, and there's still something there. It's not completely, severed as far as the relationship's concerned. So it was cool to see that interaction for sure.
Yeah, because it's that okay, I should go, and she's just like, wait, and he's like, yeah, and she's like, oh, I got nothing. I just want to talk to you.
Right.
Beard looks good.
Yeah, exactly. Sweet beard.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked their interaction together. It was last season, I mean, before we found everything out, it seemed like she was legitimately happy, and obviously it had been a fairly rough road for her, which is an understatement in season 1. Mm-hmm. So I thought I thought it was nice.
I shipped him hard last season. I can't lie. I was all about it, and then my heart was broken. But
yeah, well, now you know how Michael feels. Yeah, but I don't exactly know why L'Rell thought everybody was going to be on board with that. But that's. Well, tell us what you think in the chat. As always, let us know what you thought about that. So. According to Stress Free K, L'Rell is blinded by her love for Ash / Vok, and who can blame her? It's true. Let's see. Sorry, what was this? Oh, Beta Artemis says, can we celebrate the historic day that for the first time in 53 years that Christopher Pike didn't get hurt or almost die or actually die? Yes, congratulations. Pike actually didn't have much to do this episode. He's just about, I shouldn't open this file, but Burnham, go open that file.
Yeah, a lot of characters that we know and love didn't do much. Saru, most of the bridge, Stamets kind of just stood there with the fungus extractor.
Yeah, which I did think. I know we're kind of going in a circular fashion here. I did think that May's reaction to being called a fungus was really funny. Like, she was so angry. Like, don't call me that.
Yeah, that's racist, man.
Yeah, that's our word, okay? I can say that we're a fungus. You don't get to say that.
So triggered.
Yeah, right. Those spores get triggered so easily. I don't know. I think that I'm going to say this is the first episode of the season. This is only the third one.
Yeah.
I wasn't in love with this episode.
For sure.
It was like I don't know. It was like to put it in Star Trek terms, it's like they gave us 10 pounds of tribbles in a 5-pound bag. It was like, what? Each story was, well, I guess the Tilly story wasn't, but with Spock and the Klingons, there was just so much to have to digest. And then it's like, and Section 31, it was like, you'd feel like they only had like 6 episodes to tell a story, but I think they have 14.
14 or 15.
Something like that.
There was a lot of things that were crammed in this one, and I understand like the whole process of bottle episodes. If you look at a season, you have your action-packed ones, your more slow down, more story-driven ones. But having scene after scene, especially at the top, being almost like a Spock section and going into the Vulcan story, it did felt like I was like reading a book in the worst kind of way. It was kind of like, here's a chapter here, and a chapter there. Everything told today is interesting and it's important. It's just a lot of it back to back. I kind of wish for in cop shows they have like a random chase scene. We had a random fight scene, right? I feel like it was like things like that to keep things more structurally sound, but a lot of information was packed on together, and that's why ultimately it was kind of like for me.
Yeah, let us know in the chat whether you're watching live or if you're watching the archive. Let us know, and we do always like to take a look at the comments, and we can incorporate them into next week's show. Just how you felt about the episode. Definitely the cool surprises and things, but I really felt like I was being manipulated a little bit. They were trying to tug at my heartstrings with look, let's be honest, an adorable Klingon baby.
For 5 credits a day, you can support a Klingon baby.
That's right.
So I got to ask you this question: like, what do you think was the person who went above and beyond the Call of Duty, the ABCD award of this week's episode?
Because that's the Flobo recurring feature is basically who's the badass.
Who's the badass of the week? Yeah.
I'm gonna give it to Emperor. I'm not really the Emperor, but I'm really the Emperor. Georgiou, just basically beaming on board the Klingon ship and taking everybody out. One of the other shows I do here on AfterBuzz, I did 2 episodes of it today, is The Punisher. She came in like the Punisher and just wiped everybody out. It was just like, yeah, exactly. So she just took everybody out, and she's like, I'm good now. I don't know. I think that that puts her above and beyond. Did you have somebody else?
No, I have to agree with you. Watching
because there's nobody that's even close in this episode.
Not at all. The business picked up, to take a term from professional wrestling. Business picked up when Georgiou showed up because she had the action introduction, her motivations, and she sets up the eventual story for her spinoff or other episodes. It's not clear. I really felt like everything before that was kind of running at second gear, and this one went to third for a bit before it downshifted towards the end.
Yeah, so. And it definitely slowed down. It's like, look, we got a lot of stuff coming up in the weeks ahead. Beta Artemis wants to give a shout out to Amanda because she stole Spock's file. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, it's something we didn't see happen.
Right.
So we got told about it, but we got to see Philippa really just, take out all those Klingons. So I don't know. I think it was an easy choice for me this week. So I know we saw a little bit in the coming attractions, but let's take a moment for some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
And Flobo, I'll let you go first. What do you think we're going to see in the next couple weeks with these same storylines? And is there just something you're like, well, I hope it goes this way, even though you think maybe that's not what they're going to do?
I have 2 or 1.5.
Okay.
The one I think is most likely is that we're actually going to see some sort of video recording featuring the face of Spock. We haven't seen his face yet.
Yeah, we've heard his voice a couple times.
Heard his voice a couple times. I don't think we're going to meet him yet, but I do think we're going to find that, like, the visage of Spock. And the other one is perhaps, Georgiou recruits one more person. Or it tries to recruit one more person.
Yeah, and I mean, this is this isn't really news, and we've talked about it before, so we don't really have a news segment this week. But it was news when we started this show a couple weeks ago that they do want to have the Georgiou Section 31 series, or at least a mini series. So I do think we're going to see them really build up a whole crew, and it may be characters we know. Or just we'll get to know people and they'll end up on that show. So I think that they're going to spend a lot of time with it. I agree with that. Beta Artemis, in terms of predictions, is excited about something that we did see in the coming attractions in the preview for next week, which is the character of number 1, whom we know from the Enterprise, the Captain Pike, a.k.a. the Cage Enterprise, from the original pilot of Star Trek that had Captain Pike in it. And it is a character that we've wanted to, a lot of us have wanted to see. And we are going to get her next week. So, and yeah, Stress-Free K agrees. There will be more 31 faux show. Faux show. I just couldn't.
Faux sure?
No, faux sure. For sure. Yeah. And Beta Artemis has a long-term prediction. Mirror Georgiou is going to somehow kidnap Pike, and the Discovery crew will have to rescue him. Now, see, that's the kind of thing that I think would be really cool. But this is when having the real world knowledge that they want to do this Section 31 show with her makes me think that she's not going to kidnap like one of the prized captains in Starfleet.
Yeah.
But that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah.
If it's all some sort of elaborate plan that she's gonna kidnap Captain Pike. But then, that'll end that record that everybody was celebrating before. It would be an episode where he almost dies, or maybe even, could die.
It's far more likely to be another threat that they have to have an uneasy alliance, and they go the separate ways after the fact, and doing the captain pull again.
What do you think, Flobo, and everybody in the chat, what do you think that this Red Angel is? Do you have any thoughts or theories? I mean, the fact that Spock and Burnham have both seen it, but they're as far as we know anyway, they're the only ones who have.
Matt, I don't even know if it's actually tangible. I think that's kind of interesting. Like, I wanted it to be like a shared character experience they both experienced, because I know they alluded that today that there was an instance where Michael and Spock had their falling out, but it's still open for it to be like a astral projection or a feeling. I mean, it's so weird.
It's interesting you say that, because to me that's what I think it is. It's just the mind's eye, as it were, has difficulty processing something that it's like an abstract thing. I don't think it's an actual being, but maybe I'm wrong. It'd be interesting to see what it is. But yeah, I feel like it's not some like all-powerful alien life force. At least I don't think that's where they're going. That'd be too on the nose.
Right.
So I guess we will see what that is. But it's interesting, because one of the articles that I was reading about this episode as we were getting ready to go on here pointed out that Amanda mentions this Red Angel to Burnham in this episode for the first time, when it was something that Spock used to see as a child. And so, like, neither Amanda nor Sarek ever thought to mention, like, so the thing you gotta know about Spock, he like sees like red angels around, and so just like be cool.
Right.
So there are always little jumps and leaps in logic and stuff there, but I did think it was kind of interesting. Beta Artemis hopes it's a new alien. Also in the chat, it could be the Iconians, but I think with a twist and having some connection to the spores. It would make sense that there's a connection to the spores, because that seems to be when we've established in this episode that's really when we see it. We see that kind of reaction when it has to do with the spores. Anyway, a lot in this episode, a lot to digest. And maybe the episode gave me indigestion a little bit, just because, it was like Thanksgiving.
Not literally,
like,
though, I hope.
No, not literally, but, just emotionally. Yeah. It was like Thanksgiving. I just put too much on my plate, and I ate all of it.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot.
I should have really paced myself. So that's what the writers should have done, and the producers, the creators of the show.
Always give us sweatpants warning.
You should have given us the little plate, and then we go back for another plate, and then that's where we're going to have all this stuff that we have to literally digest. But we'll find out more next week, and we'll see where it goes then. But we also hope each and every one of you will join us back here next Thursday at 10 Pacific. And as always, you can find the archive on YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We're on other things that I can't remember. We're everywhere, though. Sure. So make sure you find us there. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And on Sundays at 9 Pacific, I host Marvel TV Weekly here at AfterBuzz. That's one of several shows that I do. And Flobo, where can people find you?
Oh, yeah, I'm available over at Twitter at Flobo Boyce, Instagram at Flobito, and of course at Flobito.com. And if anyone out there knows a good Klingon hair growth formula, please let me know. I've been bald for over 10 years.
Yes, the Klingon Hair Club for Men, I think.
And Klingons.
Clearly there's a lot of Klingons who are using it.
Right.
Yeah. So, let Flobo know.
Please.
At all of those places. Anyway, thanks so much, and we will see you next week. Until then, live long and prosper.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.